Yeah, well, thank you. Really, really excited about this opportunity to, have our team go down to Miami, play against an unbelievable opponent with such great history. So much respect for them, what they've been able to do, Coach Saban, his staff, and those teams very, very excited to have this opportunity. This is something that, we talked about early on, and then when the season was canceled, we talked about the opportunity to get back, or an opportunity to play in this very game, and here we are. So already started with a great week of preparation, and continue that preparation this week as we head down to Miami.
Good, thank you. First up, we'll hear from Ralph Russo. Ralph?
Hey, Ryan. Very, very fast one. You guys are still on target to play Monday, correct?
Correct.
Okay. A broader question. When Urban first brought you in, what was he looking for as far as changes in the offense, and what did you envision the changes that you could bring to this offense?
We didn't really get into specifics on what was looking to be changed. I think he just felt like, there needed to be a change. And we spent a lot of time talking about what really, the offense was and where he saw it going. So many things that were in the offense already, and just how can we use those things. And we really kept it the same. We really didn't change much in terms of the terminology, the formations, anything like that. And we just spent most of our time trying to figure out how to best utilize the players we had and continue to recruit at a high level. And so, between he, Kevin Wilson, myself, Coach Stud, we just all sat down and tried to figure out what was right for that next season. We had JT, and then it changed. We had Dwayne, and now Justin. And so each year it's changed, tweaked here and there. But at the end of the day, I think the basis of it has pretty much stayed the same.
All right. Next, we'll hear from Bill Rabinowitz. Bill? Bill, are you there? Okay. Let's try Nathan Baird. Nathan?
Hey, Ryan. Sorry about that. Obviously, you guys have been dealing with the COVID issues pretty constantly for the last 6 weeks as far as having to miss guys. But coming off of a big win like the Sugar Bowl and then having to deal with new cases this week, how is that not sort of like a mental gut punch for the program? Or is it something that players and coaches are kind of just steeled to at this point and better able to deal with?
Well, anytime you deal with that and you lose people, it is a gut punch. But it's not something that we're not used to. We played games with majority of our offensive line out. We played the Big Ten championship game without our top receivers, or some of our top receivers. We've had starters all over the place down different times, and we found ways to work through it. It's just been the way it is, and you can feel sorry for yourself, or you can just continue to work on and push through it. The hard thing is, at the end of the day, most people don't really care. They just watch the game, and the result is the result. But for us, that's why the story about this season is just so amazing to me, is that we just continue to push through despite all these difficult challenges along the way. And no different this week. So we got a new set of challenges this week. We're gonna have to figure it out and go down to Miami and play.
Next, we'll hear from Lane Higgins. Lane?
Hi, Coach Jay. Wanted to see if you had an update for us on the status of Justin Fields, and kind of as a follow-up to that, even if he is healthy enough to play, would you consider tailoring the offense, perhaps limiting designed quarterback runs at all to account for where Justin is at?
Yeah, no real update. Don't really give up injury updates. And then, we'll do, what we think is best in the game, based on our opponent, based on our personnel and where we're at during the game. That's kind of what we've done for every game that we've been in. And so we'll continue to do that this week.
All right. Next, we'll hear from Austin Ward. Austin?
Ryan, yesterday Kerry was talking about how actually rewarding this season has been. I was asking about the uncertainty of a roster every week and working new guys in and having to really burn through different solutions. Is rewarding the word that you would use as the head coach, or what has this been like with dealing with those challenges every week?
I think it's just the way that this has gone. The minute you want to feel good and take a deep breath and count your blessings and, like you said, feel the reward of what we've done. Something new comes at you and you just got to handle it. So I know this: the finish line's coming on Monday, and we got to finish this thing strong, no matter what comes our way, what has come our way. We've handled it. We got to continue to do that, and that's really what it is. And to say it's easy, no. To sit back and say that we can, pat ourselves on the back or feel good about what's gone on. No. We gotta finish this thing off on Monday, and then when the season's over, we'll go back and think about all the great things that have happened this year, because there's a lot of them.
All right, next is Adam Rittenberg. Adam?
Ryan, I know you've been an advocate for mental health even before the pandemic started. And you guys have also been very open about how stressful this season has been. I'm just curious, how much have you had to kind of check in with guys just from a mental standpoint along the way, whether it was the season being postponed, reinstated, COVID, playing this week, not playing this week, that process for such a long period of time for this group of guys given their age?
Something we talk about a lot. Our position coaches, really keep a close eye on it. When we communicate with our parents, we're constantly talking about it, and it hasn't been easy. I think the hardest part was probably going through the holidays, not being around their families, and then the constant change, like you're saying, lack of routine, change of course here and there, and then the uncertainty. So it's something that has been difficult. I'll say this though, I think, and I've said this before, I think going through this time has made our guys stronger mentally. They've been able to sustain, through a lot of tough times and adversity. And so that's been one of the silver linings here. But it's something we really keep a close eye on and try to do everything we can to provide the resources that guys want.
All right, next is Dennis Dodd. Dennis?
Ryan, Pat Fitzgerald and Mike Hankwitz are so good. Was that more about them going against your offense in that championship game, or was it more about the offense not functioning as well, or a combination of both?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. They do a great job, always have. And, I think we were also really weren't clicking that day. It doesn't take much to be off. We say that all the time. So I think it was a combination of things.
All right, David Hale. David?
Hey, Ryan, thanks for doing this. You and Justin have, I think, a very strong relationship, and having talked to him, I know he's kind of very close with his dad, very much a small town guy, and yet he committed to Ohio State without having actually gone to campus first. I'm wondering what has sort of made your relationship work with him so much. Do you consider it sort of a unique bond for yourself as well? And how much do you think that has played into the level of effort and dedication that he's shown to the program throughout this really tumultuous year?
First off, it says I'm unstable. Am I good? Am I good on this? Yeah. It started off right from the get-go when, Justin and I started our relationship and tried to be upfront and honest with him. He was going to have to come in here and earn a spot. It was going to take hard work. That, what being the quarterback at Ohio State meant. And then we just went to work. And, Mike Yursich early on, that first year, spent a lot of time with him. I spent some time with him, especially on the field. And then in the off season this year, spent a ton of time with him, and have spent some time with him certainly this year, a lot of time this fall. And, when you go through things together, your relationship gets stronger. And, we went through a lot of great times last year. You go through that Clemson game and, you just learn about each other. Your relationship gets stronger when you go through tough times. You find out about each other. And then, the off season and fighting for a season and speaking up and his leadership and all those things. And then as we got into this season, you know, a lot of the stuff we worked on during the season, Coach Dennis and he worked on, it all kind of worked together early on. And then we went through a couple tough games where it didn't really click the way we wanted to. And then to see him play the way he did and overcome a little adversity in this past game is what it's all about. And that's what life is all about. And I think he knows how much I care for him, and I'm always there for him and try to help him the best I can. And that's part of it too. I mean, it's one thing to care about somebody. It's another thing to be able to help them. And I think that, you know, he knows that I'm here to help him, and I can find ways to help him here and there. And I think that there's a trust there. And there's obviously an unbelievable respect for what I have it for him as a competitor, as a person.
All right, next is Bill Rabinowitz. Bill?
Can you hear me this time, Ryan?
I can't.
All right, good. You're in the national championship game and only your second full year as coach. With all you've had to deal with this year, I'm sure that's not really on forefront of your mind. But can you put into words what it's like for you to be at this point and what it would mean to win it, especially when you're going against somebody like Nick Saban?
I appreciate those words, Bill. I don't. I think you probably know me now. I'm probably not going to get into that right now, just because, you know, we're in the moment, and all that really matters is preparing for this game. I think when you start to take a step back, you get distracted, and every minute of the day, I tell the players, should be spent on Alabama. That's it. If you're spending your time thinking about anything else, tickets, you know, travel, family, this, that, what's going on after, what went on last week, it's a distraction towards focusing on this game. Because this is what matters. Certainly very, very honored to be in this situation. Don't get me wrong. And it's really about the players. The fact that these guys have an opportunity now to go play in this game and do something that would just be amazing. So that's really it. Just focusing on the game. And I think, you know, hopefully after this game, we're able to take a deep breath. I hope, anyways. I feel like during these past, you know, 2 years and even a little bit more, I just haven't been able to take a deep breath. It just, I felt maybe after last year, you know, into March, I was able to, and then the quarantine hit, and then it just became chaos again. So looking forward to finishing this thing the right way, and then taking a deep breath and decompressing and trying to reflect on what just happened this year.
All right, next is Michael Casagrande. Michael?
Yeah, just wondering, how many players do you guys have available for the game?
How many do we have available? I don't know the number on that. I have to check.
But you're confident that you'll have the full number required to play in the game?
Yeah, we'll have plenty of players.
All right, next up is Sam Kahn. Sam?
Hey, Ryan. Earlier this year, Nick Saban had said that he doesn't believe that good defense beats good offense anymore as it relates to the way college football has gone. I'm curious what your sentiment is on that, and how what good defense is now required to win a championship in this age of college football.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think it has changed. You know, fundamentally, it hasn't changed, but just the way the game's being played has. And it's all about getting stops. You know, I mean, it isn't really about how many yards you give up. I think controlling the game does matter. But at the end of the day, it's about getting stops, forcing field goals, and getting turnovers. You know, you can let them drive the entire length of the field, but if they kick field goals or you get turnovers along the way, good things are going to happen. So I think that really is where it's at. And, you know, it depends on how strong your offense is. And I think both sides have to play off of each other. I think that's really, really important. One good thing about, you know, being so involved in the offense is that you kind of understand as the head coach that, you know, it takes both sides in all three phases to you know, mesh together for it to work. And you can't work in three different silos. And I think that's a big part of it as well. So, you know, when you tie the two sides in together with special teams, then I think you can put together a good plan. But to answer your question, I think nowadays it's not about how many yards you give up. It's just literally how many stops can you get, whether by turnovers or forcing field goals.
Next, we'll hear from Bill Landis. Bill? Bill, you need to unmute your mic.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Part of this feels a little similar to the 2014 season Ohio State had, where in that year, getting the semifinal and playing Alabama seemed like such a target, and then they accomplished it and sort of had to recalibrate to play the national title game. And I think on some level, maybe Clemson was a target for you guys. Maybe you disagree with that, but to have such an emotional win against a team that, you know, you played a tough game against last year, you had been thinking about a lot, and then turning around and having to play this, like, is there any difficulty in, I don't know, ratcheting up the same kind of emotion again?
I mean, anytime you play somebody like Alabama for a national championship, it's going to be a challenge. And, you know, it was an emotional game. It was an emotional win, but nobody said they wanted to come back to just play in this game. They came back to win it. So, you know, I think our guys have the eyes on the prize, and it's a slow build, you know, towards the game. But I think we're going to come out with our hair on fire and play as hard as we possibly can and go from there, you know. And I think the thing we got to take it one play at a time. You can't go on and try to do too much against a great team like this. You have to just play one play at a time. On defense, you get one stop at a time. On offense, you get one first down at a time. You just focus on that. You look up in the fourth quarter, you see where you're at. But I know our guys are going to play really, really hard.
Next is Barry Trammell. Barry?
Yeah, Ryan. I'm from the Oklahoman. I was at the game in Columbus in 2017. That was sort of Trey Sermon's coming out party. He had a true freshman, had a really good game. Do you remember, you're on the other side of the ball in terms of preparation. Do you remember much about his game against the Buckeyes in 2017? And did you know how good he was until you actually got him on campus?
I remember some of them, and then I watched a little bit of that game, and you know, certainly when he had an opportunity to transfer, and had a great conversation with Coach Riley, and you know, he had nothing but great things to say about Trey, and it just seemed like the right fit here. And the thing that's, again, I just go back to is that it didn't all come at once for Trey. You know, he worked really hard early on, but didn't have the preseason and the lead up and the non-conference games. And so, and he was kind of splitting time with Master. And then but he never came into my office, never said a word, just kept working. And then when his opportunity came to be the guy, he took it and ran. And what an amazing story, you know, special young man. You know, we'll see what happens, but no, to say I knew he'd be doing this right now, no. This has been a pleasant surprise, but couldn't happen to a better guy. He's done a great job in a short period of time. The players in his team really appreciate who he is, and happy for him.
Next is Billy Witz. Billy?
Yeah, Ryan. When Justin got hurt against Clemson, and there's, you know, the decision of whether to put him back into the game and the injection that or two that he seems to have gotten. What are the discussions that take place? The coaches, the medical people about, I guess, whether he can, when he goes back in the game, how well he can protect himself. What are the what the questions of possible further injury, and because this is somebody who seemingly has a pretty lucrative future in front of him. And so I guess how are those things kind of balanced and played out?
I mean, Justin isn't treated any differently than any other student athlete. Our medical people are the best in the country at what they do. They identify what's going on. They communicate with the player, and they diagnose what happened and then make the decision on whether he's able to go back in the game. And that's what happened here. And obviously they use the feedback of the player too. And what an unbelievable competitor Justin is. I mean, just never forget that night. He's just tough. And people forget that, what happened in the Team Up North game when he took that shot in the knee. One play came out, he went back in. One play later, and threw a touchdown pass, scrambling to his left to Garrett Wilson in the back of the end zone. I mean, that was like, whoa. And then this was another one. So then see him come back after that hit and throw 4 touchdown passes, throw the ball 65 yards down the field. I mean, unbelievable.
Are there things that you look at though with, just of making a determination of whether he can protect himself? I don't think anybody questions his competitiveness and interest in being out there, but just as far as, whether he can, protect himself, the way, he can move around at all, et cetera.
I mean, yeah, that's up to our medical people, and it's the same thing we do for every game.
We have time for one more. Stephen Means. Stephen?
Hey Ryan, just back on Trey a little bit. He is a guy who transferred in here at a time when he didn't necessarily transfer like Justin did, where he kind of had an off season to really get to know a lot of these guys and do the stuff you would do if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic. So saying that, when did you see him start to get comfortable around this? And how did that maybe translate onto the field?
Yeah, probably the Michigan State game, and then into the. But he popped a few runs there. Okay, that was good. But then the Big Ten championship game was when he just really took off. I mean, it just as early as that. I mean, it was probably the second half is when I really realized what was going on. He was running hard, but then it just kind of went to a second level, and then he played great last week.
Great. Thank you very much, Coach.